So this is going to be something, well, not different. I've done stuff like this before, but because I wanted to do this, this will be the intro. Because what you're about to see, if you're seeing this on YouTube, this is season 1 to season 5 of my review of BBC Ghosts. 5 days back to back. For TikTok, you're going to get really confused because you don't get what this is for. But because I still want to use footage and I'm going to basically put this onto TikTok anyway, why not? So I'm going to combine it, merge it into one giant video. But yeah, that's basically the idea. What I'm going to do. And if you're on TikTok, go to YouTube. You're going to see the full 5 days all put into one video. But if you're seeing this on YouTube, this is most likely part of the Whew. Yeah, this is going to be the next 5 days, Ghost. It's not even Halloween. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be a bit smaller. Because one, the season's smaller, so there's not a lot to talk about. And two, even though I do love, like, this series, it's mostly because I like the fact that you have the Horrible History actors, which I'm not going to review Horrible History if anyone's going to ask, because I haven't watched a whole series of that. I've just watched in and out for clips, moments, and individual things, and it was sort of like me when I was growing up. But I do love it, and I definitely over-listen to a lot of the songs. But I liked the ghosts, and some of the ghosts and how they were set up, I absolutely love. I am annoyed because even if you look at multiple series, Season 1 has 6 episodes. All of them have, if I'm correct, 6 episodes in it. Except each one of them has a sort of like Christmas episode past Season 2. Season 1 doesn't. And there doesn't have a lot happening compared to like Season 1, which either talks about law or sort of like changing something. With, like, the business, with, like, the assistant, sort of, like, new positioning, the car, the ghost following people, or the sort of stuff where it's, like, connections and LGBT representation with having that slowly develop. Season 1 doesn't have a lot happening. But the only thing I want to say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 7, is the fact that one of the things that is different that I find really interesting, and it shows the US it shows like something really interesting that like we don't mind talking about legitimately having one person actively in the house who is somewhat of a murderer. They do bring it back later in the series, but I'm not going to talk about that until season 5 because that's roughly when it becomes relevant. But I'm not going to mention too much about that. But overall, which is the idea, I'm not going to talk about the consequences, but the idea that one of the ghosts, which is Julian, pushes her off, which I have mentioned is different to the US one, because the UK one is legitimately, could have possibly been murderer. You could have had a ghost murderer, but the sort of US one is legitimately an accident, a ghost pushed something off, they didn't see it, and hijinks ensues. The other thing, which I also would like to point out, I do sort of like, is in each one of the series you have this sort of decapitated one. In the US, besides the beginning and one scene where it's like, someone's lost my head, he's not there for most of the stories. And I know, like, even in season 1 he's not in it, he's still sort of in the background, which I feel like is more interesting of like just having one character who just has nothing and just existed. That's what I think would be really more interesting, to like have the character someone in the background, but someone disappears. Where does he appear for like a lot of the series? I don't know. But yeah, this is season 1 out of 5 for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 more days. There's going to be 4 more days of this. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and good night. Oh no! Oh wait, no. They've been here. Been 4 days now, so yeah, a bit of an odd one, but this is going to be here for a while. I can't think of too many new ones. So yeah, season 2. I like it. Again, besides the spoiler section, which I have 2 episodes to talk about, which are these 2. Luckily, they're in short. That's a relief. I don't need to worry about how I'm going to and I am going to find this one here, or here, or here. Ah, that's relief. I just realized I didn't copy and paste over the thing. I can do it now before I can do it. But yeah, like I said, there's not much to really talk about in the non-spoiler section. It's a good series. I prefer the US one. I know some people might not, but I do. So yeah. The one thing in the US one that they point out is each one of the ghosts has a power. It's sort of like you have this, you have that, and it's sort of a remnant of how you die. Smells, situational things, like how your body could affect other people. Like the smell of diarrhea from someone who died of dysentery, breath of someone who had like poisoning of a specific type of food, and all of that stuff. The only episode, I think, because like season 1, besides ghosts exists, they talk about a couple of ghost powers, and in the US one, they do kind of like, here are all the powers, same with the first episode, here's all the powers, X, Y, and Z, etc, etc, etc. You also have some people discovering their powers, which this one has it earlier, but the other series has a different type of discoveries, as in different types of ghosts. And I think this one actually is better, more interesting of like how the powers are discovered, because 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The US is completely accidental. Here's a good place to do this. I'm a travel agent. Oh no, there's a fly. I was like, the fly can't hurt us. Like, yeah, I know, but it's annoying. And then he steps out of bounds. And it's like, oh, you could do that? This one is also, like, somewhat accidental, but, like, accidental in a way that, like, was somewhat deliberate. Because the sort of grey lady puts her head out and said, take the camera off the lawn. Sort of like, the lawn's good, try and do that. And he accidentally takes a picture. And then it's revealed in the picture. Which I like. That idea of, like, wait a second, you're in a photo. And I absolutely find it interesting. The other one, which I like, is this one here, which somewhat has a unreliable narrator story. Again, it's simple, but I just like the idea where you just repeat the same events from different angles and just be a bit more honest and then reveal the truth, which is fun. Also helps because one was lying to another, and that was really interesting. But yeah, it is a good series, one that is worth watching. Again, I know I'm constantly referring to US, but with literally the 2 series, and I also did the same thing with the US, which is UK, because I watched the UK first, but I didn't think I reviewed it, so I rewatched it again. And like I said, because the 2 series do have that similarities and do have those similar points, it is really interesting to be like, okay, where are they the same, where are they different, and how are they different? So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and good night.
Yeah, we all know. Yeah, so past Halloween, I'm still doing this. I'm insane. So yeah, I've talked about this before. BBC Ghosts. It is a thing. It is entertaining. And I love it. Sorry if I'm looking, my Wi-Fi went down. Oh, I think it's makeup. In some capacity. It's low, but fine. So, I've said about how constantly connecting this with the US is being like, this is the 6th day of me comparing UK to US, and that is fair. But the one thing I have to acknowledge is the reason why I'm doing this is because I watched the BBC, and then I watched the US, and then I realised I didn't review the BBC for some stupid reason. I don't have an explanation. It's probably because I didn't review things back then. I don't know. Probably I did or I didn't. I don't know. I sometimes forget which ones I reviewed or not. So after I reviewed the US, which I didn't review, I just came back and reviewed this one. Because there's a lot to talk about the differences in this. And I think I like it. Because it's two sort of like, it's BBC Ghost and CBS Ghost. It's my US versus UK The Office. Here's two interpretations. Here's two people trying to do the interpretations. And here is what came out as a result. Two different styles of two similar concepts doing similar bits or like similar type of setup, and see where we go with it. And I love it. So yeah. The only thing I would like to talk about is, like the US, which had a whole arc with someone coming in and sort of like disturbing the peace of sorts. This one's more probably an actual... No, actually, that is true. But the two of these stories both have... I'm the fake sister, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm the fake sister, pretend to be the sister just to get into the house. The one thing I like is in this, it had the sister by herself, nothing to do with the landlord and all that stuff. So being like, yep, I'm the sister, I'm pretending to sort of take the land. And I think the US ghost, the UK ghost, sort of has the thing with them even going to like a sort of like strip club sort of place where one of them died. To sort of like talk about, what happened, and is this true? And even though I do love the fact that you go out, because this is one of the second time that they go out to see other ghosts in other habitats, besides just going to do the house sale bit, which they both do. I like the idea of them going out to, like, because they did the same thing when they were visiting her mum, who died in a specific place. And but this one, I also like, because one of the things that they do is, which is just hilarious, where they're trying to do like oh no, this is happening, and this. Two things come up. They were learning improv in the episode. And they were doing like, what do we do? Yes, and? It was like, yes. You learned the number one rule of improv. Yes, and it. Never say no. I know, I haven't done improv, and I know that much at the very least. But the other thing I love is one of the things kick my head. I'm like, that's the most out of context. Like, it's like, what? But yeah, it's weird, it's confusing, but it's absolutely insane in the best of ways. So, like I've been saying, and like I'll be saying for the next 2 days, which is weird because they'll be the shortest days, so that's going to be weird. This is happening. I'm going to finish research. I'm also realistically, on the Monday, not the Monday, but like on the day I start 5 again, which will be Saturday. Yeah, it's not confusing at all. I will be making one video to sort of pull them all together, but yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, I hope you like this madness, and good night. So yeah, 2 more of this. So, let's continue. Woo! So yeah, besides, this is another episode of me comparing US to UK ghosts. And I like it. There's not a lot to talk about in this sort of section because, like I've said before, there's not really any sort of, besides I like it, and there's one specific moment that I sort of like, which sort of changes which sort of shows a lot of, I think, some of the big differences. There's not a lot to talk about in the non-spoiler section. So why don't we go to the spoiler section? Okay, what is there to talk about? There's the episode right there. Episode 4. And this is the one thing that I want to talk about it that shows the difference. Which is, by the way, there's a party. Oh, 8 and 6. Oh, I prepared it for people of 80 years old. And they're accidentally children. And it's like the awkward, the cringe, the sort of like, oh no, we have to prepare something. Or people will sue us or we'll be in trouble. It's a lot darker than, but I think watch just search UK versus US, you can kind of tell that UK has a lot of darkness versus US. Like, I think there was a series of like Faulty Towers or whatever the series was, where it's like a hotel, a management, and ends up with like, the inspector, and there's Rat. It's a lot darker. But again, a lot of people have said that. And this series ends up, that sort of starts off being talked about in season 5, which is they have this sort of business and then it burns down. But I'm not going to talk about that yet. Yeah, the gatehouse. I'm not going to talk about what happens in season 5, but it does leave the cliffhanger. And the gatehouse destroyed, which is basically, in the US one, they have like this business of like all of this selling stuff, which they're doing well. The UK sort of does a bit well until like season 5, where it all goes downhill, but you can kind of tell they're sort of ending it, wrapping it up. But yeah. I do sort of think it's interesting. So, with all of that being said, and all of that wrapping up, what's the final point to all of this? Why am I saying all of this? Is there no point, any point? Is there a banana of a point? Anyway. Like I keep saying, they're just different. Do I prefer the US one? Yes. But that's because I'm a person who actually has questions of, like, if you have, like, they've shown evidence of, like, items come out of. If you have, let's say, a chocolate bar, and then you eat the chocolate bar, and then you dissolve the chocolate bar, does it then reappear? Or what happens? Obviously, the bathroom is used, obviously, and then it goes back up, and it's really weird. But the other thing that I have questioned is, if you have an iPad, does it constantly have the same amount of charge and all the stuff, videos that you can watch on it? Or does that basically non-exist? If you have a downloadable thing on it, does it basically stay there? If I have a phone, can I call someone, theoretically? Because when I died, I had cell service, and the item never changes, so I can basically call anyone from any location. Can I call the living if I have a phone with me? If I have a item like a gun that can be shot off, does the gun just reload itself with all the empty bullets? Again, these are the questions I think of all the time about, like, what is possible, what is not. And in the US one, they start to, like, question that, think about that, and have these, like, things about, like, oh, what will work and what won't work. Again, my type. Where it's like, now, how do I figure out if this is true or fake? Again, my type of madness, in a way. So yeah, I 100% recommend for you to watch this. So yeah, go and watch it. It's entertaining as hell. So yeah, at least for the UK, time to wrap this up. So yeah, like I said, even though it doesn't say season 5, just focus on this section where it does say season 5. It's over. Besides the fact that I'll be doing like one small one for one video on YouTube. It's not going to be seen on TikTok because it'll be all of them, and I'm pretty sure they're above 10 minutes at this point. So yeah, it's kind of putting all of it together. And I do love this series. There's a lot to like about it. And even though I have said that I prefer the US one, I still think this is a really good and charming, like, series. And through season 1, it's building and looking at the characters in fun ways. It's definitely done a great job to do that. And it's really good. The actors are amazing. Seeing the Horrible History actors together, at least some of the ghost ones are, again, like I said before, the ghost ones are from Horrible History. Seeing them all do their stuff again is just interesting. Because you can tell that they have been able to work off each other. And you can feel like, though, like, you know how each one of them acts. You know how they act. So you can tell that they've worked together. I know that sounded badly. I'm sorry. But yeah, time for the more funner stuff. So, like I hinted before, season 4, Fire. So, the Garden Gatehouse, which is sort of like a thing in the UK, I think. It's like a thing. You can go out to the countryside for like the weekend, do an Airbnb for a gatehouse. I know it's a thing. I haven't done too much because, but I have heard about stuff like that before. But one of the things was April Fools. Each one of them is trying to get pranked. And because of her setting a fire, doing something, they weren't able to get insurance on the gatehouse because they think they're faking it, but in reality they're just pranking ghosts, but they can't really explain it. Oh, they'll look crazy! Plus a bunch of like really unexplainable things that make no sense unless ghosts are real. The other thing which I don't think I've mentioned, and I think it's sort of season 4, one of them goes off, which in the US they sort of do with one of the characters, but not really. They do it like, and she's gone, can't miss her. In reality, she's trapped in a well and stuck for all eternity. So in reality, she didn't. She just got stuck, and then she was able to get back through, and it's really interesting. And there's really good plot development of that. That's besides the point. With this, someone actually goes away, and I find that really respectful. With the episode, I also like the 2 other ones. The 3 other ones I like are the Enfrances, which is basically 2 people having sort of like a communication, and like it sort of unfolds with like, oh, how do you not know? And like you kept talking to, I think, the wife, and then it's like this whole thing. It's like a drama thing. It goes to drama, but the reason why I like it is because you learn about this because he learns French, and like he wouldn't know French except for it. The other one, which no, it's not in here because that's season 1. The Pineapple Day, and the reason why I like him because someone brings a pineapple home, and throughout all of the series, you don't know this. The main characters don't know this. They still think this. Throughout the whole series, the sister looks like a horrible person who deliberately would ruin stuff for, like, the ghost that stays there, and you don't know why. And obviously you know why. It's sort of jealousy. But at the end, it's revealed that, yeah, it isn't the case. She didn't kill her, and she did care about her. It's just, she wanted her father to herself. It was jealousy. It wasn't right. None of it is okay. None of it is moral. But you somewhat get it more. It makes a bit more sense. Because you can tell that these two people are not from the same parish, not because of the obvious, but because they haven't been around for too much longer. So, her father remarries someone, and it's all about, like, having her mother not be around, sort of sense. And you can tell that causes pain. And I like the thing that, like, she got bit, that, like, she picked up a pineapple and was like, ow. And then that one moment was like, oh yeah, it's a pineapple. Like, to someone who hasn't touched a pineapple, that probably didn't mean anything. But I love the one thing that happened and the one reason why we could put it together. Because the one thing is that you could tell two other people who were there, the only two other people who were there, went away. And the other person wasn't actually helpful at all. They were looking at something else. They were looking at the kitchen. But the other person went away. The other two people who were there, because there were 4 people at the time, the other 2 people who went away aren't there to, like, say what actually from their perspective. Which kind of shows the idea of, like, sometimes even with the dead and ghosts being around, you can still have unreliable, but not unreliable, but not the whole pieces of the story. And I like 54321, the whole mystery goes to when she said, ow, it could be the pineapple shop, I didn't know that, or a poisonous spider bit her. They show it at the beginning when she picks up the pineapple, but no one thinks about it. Until obviously, like, the caveman literally said, yeah, I was paying attention to this really awesome spider. Don't know where it came from. And they described it as like, oh, that shouldn't be in here. That is not from, that is not native here. That means it came from the pineapple, which is basically for shipmenting, etc., etc., etc. And then, obviously, episode 6 and the Christmas episode deal with the consequences of, you know, the first episode of this, and she gets pushed off. And realistically, I don't know how they're going to do. If they're going to do a similar thing, maybe try and think about selling it and doing all of that stuff again. I don't know how, because with the UK, legitimately, you could be like, well, by the way, I did try and murder you. I will try and justify that to you, which is, you can't. You tried to murder me. But the US one is like, yeah, so why did I fall? Well, in our defense, I was trying to push it. And I did warn you, you were nowhere near when I was originally trying to do it. And I just wanted to prove that I could push something off something. It's stupid, but realistically, it is an accident. Legitimately, the US one is a complete accident. So you could just wave that away being like... And obviously they knew they were haunting them beforehand. They could have been like, oh, that makes sense, this makes sense. But yeah, it's the last... Season 1 to Season 5, I think, did it really well. Season 1 to Season 5 did it really well. With Season 1 sort of building up the characters and learning more about sort of like the characters, the world. And the fact after Season 2 they have a Christmas episode, I really like. And I really love that sort of the history of it. Learning about the ghost. And the way they finish it in the last episode, this is technically spoilers, but I just realised this. They sell the property and turn it into like a golf resort, like sort of like one of those golf places with hotels and a big chain and all of that stuff. And then they don't sell it in last resort because, like, yeah, I like living here, but because of money troubles and everyone's literally on the children being like, oh yes, 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 yes. They sell it. But the last shot is them coming back later and seeing the thing. And then here's the song, people, which is just hilarious. But I hope you enjoy this mad video, and good.